Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of That Podcast at Atonement. My name is Ryan Janke. I'm joined by Sarah DeYoung, and today we have a couple of guests with us. We have Tim Hiller and Brent from Churches United. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet. I found out the other day that you would be here to pick up some supplies that we've been gathering for 50 days of feeding the world, and I thought it'd be a good idea to have you come in and just talk about what you do at Churches United. So first, Brent, I'll ask you to just sort of introduce people who might not know what Churches United is.
Well, thanks for that. Churches United is an organization that's been around since 1987. It was formed by about a dozen churches that got together and saw the need to help the people in town that were experiencing homelessness. So it started with, well, this church is going to take it for a couple weeks, and this church will take it for a couple weeks, and so on. And it remained that way for a little while, and then a nonprofit was formed. And it's moved around a little bit at a few different sites in Fargo, Moorhead, and it ended up at 1901 First Avenue North in Moorhead, the old Plunkett's Furniture Building across from a Coke, kind of between Junkyard and Burger King in Moorhead. And that's where we've been for a while, and it's been a good building to help people that were experiencing homelessness. We joined forces with another organization called the Dorothy Day Organization a couple years ago. The Dorothy Day organization had the Dorothy Day House, which was a men's-only shelter on 8th Street over by Concordia in Moorhead. And they also had a couple of food pantries. They had the Dorothy Day Food Pantry in Moorhead on Main, just a little east of Hornbachers, and then another food pantry in West Fargo, run out of the Holy Cross Church. So we joined forces with them, and so then we're doing fine. And then we started another site called the Bright Sky Apartments, which is on 34th Street in Moorhead, on the Moorhead-Dilworth corner, just a little bit north of Cashwise, a little bit south of Walmart. And the Bright Sky Apartments was formed. It was affordable housing is really what it was. It was a permanent supportive housing unit. When people were experiencing homelessness, we would find them places to go, but to have a site where we could still kind of help people after they spent time with us was great. So when they moved into it, we provided them with their pots and pans and their beds and their bedding, and still have a food pantry there where we're providing those people with some food, and it's been great. So we have 5 sites now. We kind of did a renaming of our Churches United building on 1901 First Avenue North because we kind of were fumbling with the shelter. Well, which shelter, the Dorothy Day House or the Churches United shelter? So Churches United became our umbrella name, and we renamed that building Micah's Mission. So Micah's Mission is that site that traditionally people would think of as Churches United at 1901 First Avenue North. So Micah's Mission has about 120 people, men, women, and families. Kind of makes Churches United a little bit unusual in that we take complete families. We don't split them apart like most shelters do. So we have a men's wing, we have a women's wing, and we have family units. So people that are experiencing homelessness will come to Micah's Mission or the Dorothy Day House, and we'll find them housing. Eventually, homelessness is something that some people experience, and it might be a day, it might be a week, it might be a month, but eventually we'll get them into housing. We also provide food out of the Micah's Mission and Dorothy Day shelters to community members. If somebody needs a meal, they can come to either of those shelters, and we'll give them a sack lunch. Currently, we're doing a partnership with Trinity in Moorhead, and people can get a hot meal. We'll provide a hot meal for people. We'll make the meal at Micah's Mission, and we'll transport it over to Trinity between noon and 1. Monday through Friday, they can get a hot meal because they were kind of siding on sack lunches for a long, long time. So this has kind of been a nice new addition to what we've been doing. So if we have 5 sites, we help about 450 people every single day.
Wow, 450. Well, thank you for that rundown there, Brent. How many homeless people are there in the Fargo-Moorhead area?
I believe on any given night there's around 1,000 to 1,100 people who are experiencing homelessness, and between the shelters there's only about 500 to 600 beds available. So there's the demand for bedding far exceeds what we're currently able to provide.
Okay. So are there, what do we do with the overflow, or how do we help those people?
It's a good question. We are trying our best to help them in our overflow. So we have 85 beds at Micah's Mission, and then we open up our community center, which is where people have meals, and then at night there's activities during the day. But at night, that becomes our overflow. We have mats on the floor, and people are spending the night there in our overflow. We're looking at another site to potentially open up another overflow this winter. Yeah, there's a strong need for people right now. We don't know what people are doing, and it's hard to help those kind of people. You know, if they're, you don't know where they're at. They're on our waiting list. We're trying to get them in as soon as we get some people out of our, shelter into housing. That opens up beds for people that are on our waiting list. So, the best way for people to help somebody in a homeless situation is to help an organization that's directly helping people experiencing homelessness, like Churches United.
Right. So, and speaking of that, we're in 2020. We're in the pandemic, going through all that. What have you seen as far as volunteers, or have you seen a drop off in help from the community, or?
Well, we have, but when COVID hit, well, I'll go back to before COVID hit. We had lots of volunteers that would be at Micah's Mission daily, helping us with meals. Probably about 90% of our meals were provided by, the Rotary Group or the Exchange Club or the different churches in town that would either provide a meal. They would bring the food and cook the food at our kitchen, or they would cook it in their own commercial kitchen and bring it to us and serve it to us. But when COVID hit, we had to stop having volunteers come into our building, so we had to hire about 7-8 people to work in our kitchen to fill that need of those volunteers. Our pantries, originally we shut down the volunteers coming in and hired extra staff to be at our food pantries. We've kind of loosened that a little bit now. We have some volunteers at our food pantries, primarily because a lot of it is just boxing up food on your own and then bringing it out to cars. And, if we wear a mask and we're safely doing that, that's okay. But currently we're not taking, there's people that want to help out, but because of our COVID restrictions, we're kind of keeping the volunteers out of our shelters right now.
Right. So I know that, we did the 50 days of feeding the world, and you're picking up supplies today. How can people help without coming into the building? Can they drop supplies off to you or to the churches that they're working with, or?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways that folks can help us. One way, as you said, that we're always happy to take donations of any kind, whether food. We're happy to take winter clothes right now, hats, gloves, men's jackets especially we're in need of to help provide warmth during the cold season. We're also always open to financial gifts. Financial gifts allow us to make the decisions that we need to make at the time. And so there's a lot of ways that people can get involved with us.
Okay.
It's that Christmas season too, so toys are a welcome donation for us as well. And we're actually handing out toys at our food pantries coming up. We'll be handing out toys to people that come with children at our food pantries as well, along with the people that are at our shelters and the Bright Sky Apartments.
Mm-hmm. So have you seen an increase in need with the pandemic? I'm assuming that you probably have.
November was a record month for our food pantry, and that record only stood for a month because October was a record before that, and September was a record before that. So every month has increased the amount of people that we're serving out of our food pantries and the pounds of food served at our food pantries. We'll be well over 2 million pounds of food served out of our food pantries in 2020.
Wow. And what do you know, 2019, what?
Maybe 1.6 million.
Oh, wow.
Or was it 1.2?
It was 1.2 last year. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, the need has been strong. Long lines of people at the pantries to just people that are dealing with food insecurity this year that they've never dealt with before. People that never thought about coming to a food pantry before, but now coming to our food pantries for some help. And we're handing out milk and eggs and produce and meat and of course the non-perishable items too. They're not just getting a box of macaroni and cheese and green beans. They're getting good stuff for their families to feed.
Yeah. So beyond food and shelter, is there other programs that you run, or is there a sort of a process that typically when people come in that they would go through? If they're for any kind of help that way?
Well, if someone's experiencing homelessness, again, some of them might be fleeing an abusive situation. It might be for a night or two until they can move on to somewhere else. It might be somebody that's lost their home, lost their job, and they're with us for a while. So we have case managers that are helping our guests. Our case managers are helping them with jobs. They're helping them, learn how to shop for groceries. They're helping them find housing. They're helping them with any kind of issues that they're dealing with. So our case managers are great and help our guests to the best of their ability.
Yeah, so it's more than just providing food and shelter. It's comprehensive, I guess. Would that be the...
Yeah, and there's also volunteer opportunities now. We have a number of guests who have COVID who are in isolation, and we're asking local churches if they're interested, if they have befrienders ministries or people who are willing to call them. Our guests are lonely as they sit in a hotel all day, and so we're asking churches if they have people who'd like to volunteer to make contact with them and just talk to them and provide spiritual and moral support.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that, if somebody has COVID. So they're sometimes being put up in a hotel. Okay.
Yeah, put in isolation, so.
Yeah.
For the longest time, we weren't hit with COVID, but recently we've been hit kind of hard with COVID, and we put them in isolation. We'll make the food, we'll bring it over to them, but they're, they got 2 weeks of sitting in a hotel room by themselves. So that, as Tim mentioned, the Befrienders Ministry's been a nice addition to what we're providing.
Yeah. So what about future plans? You said there's about 1,100 homeless on a typical night. Do you have future plans coming up?
Well, it's nice that you mentioned that because we have some, again, the Bright Sky Apartments over on 34th Street. There's some land to the east of it that's been vacant. We've actually had it on the market. Nobody's bitten on buying it. So again, the need in this community is affordable housing. So we're going to build an apartment complex. The big uptick that we've seen in the homeless population is seniors, doubled the amount of seniors that we're helping this year over last year. So we're going to build a 55 and up apartment complex. We're going to call it Silver Linings. So we're hoping to break ground in March. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be state-of-the-art apartment complex with a nice community room and a worship center, and it's going to have a food pantry. They're key to open their mailboxes. They're going to open up a box to get food out of as well. So they'll... we'll have case managers that will be helping them as well. And we'll have some one-bedroom units for a couple that are living there. And we'll also have a bunch of pods. And a pod is, think a dorm room, a small area with their bed and their own bathroom and a small little kitchen. And then the pods will be encircled around a nice community center. So the people will have a little bit of space where they can gather. And there's some fellowship that can happen there. And they can play cards and watch TV and craft and do crossword puzzles and have a lot of fun. So it'll be good for their heart and their soul. And we're excited to break ground, and we're raising money for that right now. If this sounds like something that you're interested in helping some seniors in need, you can contact us and support our Silver Linings project. We had a goal of $500,000 to raise, and we're sitting at about $317 right now. So we have a little ways to go. So if you felt like writing a check or getting out your credit card and helping us with this project, we'd love to talk to you about it.
Okay. Are there grants or anything available for funding, not just something like Silver Linings, but in general? Because I'm sure that the pandemic is hitting a lot of different people. How are you sort of bridging that gap?
Sure. Well, the Silver Linings project is a great example. $500,000 is what we need to raise. It's a multi-million-dollar project, and there's housing grants that we applied for, and just this week actually found out that we got some money for the Silver Linings project. But yeah, there's been some COVID grants that have helped us out this year. There's been some food grants that we've gotten, and some grants for some PPP supplies. And so yeah, we've been busy writing grants and trying to find out what kind of funds are out there to help us out. State funds, national funds, church foundation funds, other private foundation funds. So we've been grateful for all of those kinds of support to keep us going this year.
Good. Do you have a question, Sarah?
Not that I can think of right now.
Oh, okay.
I do just want to say I really like how you guys touched on you do more than just shelter and food, because whenever I talk about Churches United on our side of things, I always just say Churches United Network, because you guys do so much and there's so many different aspects that go into it that really it's important for people to know that it's not just what you think of when you think of a homeless shelter. You're doing all of these things that go into people's lives to help them back on their feet and to reestablish them. So thank you guys.
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
I think we do our best to make homelessness brief, rare, and non-reoccurring, right? And so Churches United very intentionally gives wraparound care. So people, what issues they're dealing with, we can provide them. And it's an exciting organization.
I like that brief, rare, and non-reoccurring. That's great. We took a group to San Francisco in 2019, I think is when we went. And homelessness is really bad out there. A lot of times, I don't think people think of homelessness here in Fargo, Moorhead, but it is, as you said, the 1,100 number kind of blows my mind. I mean, is there 150,000 in Fargo and Moorhead total? 150,000 people. If that's 1% of the population, it's crazy to think of that. So,
We don't see it because they're not congregated on a street corner, and you don't see it as you drive by. But it's there. There's our waiting list proves it. There's people right now that need a place to get into shelter right now.
Yeah. Wow. So what is your biggest need right now today?
Well, financial support, again, is the thing that we always need because it helps us buy what we need at the certain time that we need it. But other than that, like Tim mentioned, boots and gloves and coats. If you're looking in your closet and you have a coat that you haven't used in a while and you want to get rid of it, we'll certainly gladly take that, and hats, gloves, and mittens and boots. And diapers is something that we can always use. Lots of families that are experiencing homelessness, or the people at the Bright Sky Apartments that have babies. So wipes and diapers are always in need. And we also hand some of those out at food pantry as well. When a family comes driving up with their car in the food pantry and they have kids, we'll hand out diapers and wipes there as well. It's Christmas time, so toys is something that we're looking for. But at the food pantry, we try to have, not just green beans and macaroni and cheese. So those things get donated a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But, we need cooking oil, and we need flour, and we need sugar, and we need spices, salt and pepper. Those kind of things are always in need. And, if you're at Sam's and you buy the big, box of apples and you can't use them all, maybe you want to donate one of those bags of apples to us, or lots of produce we need, or milk and eggs and those kind of things. And maybe not the easiest thing to donate to a food pantry, but those are the things that are in need. And so again, financially, if we have the money, we can buy those. If we're short of eggs, we can buy eggs. But what else comes to mind, Tim?
In the summer, if you have a garden, we're always happy to take fresh produce too.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think that it's interesting that, like, the cooking oil and things, I think that is not something that would typically come to my mind, but it is something that, when I'm at home, hey, we want to make this or we want to make that. Oh, we don't, that's a huge, those sort of base ingredients that you need for different things that you're making.
I think part of that is because we were Churches United for the homeless for the longest time, for decades.
Mm-hmm.
We dropped the for the homeless. We're just called Churches United now because we help people that have homes. People that are coming to the food pantry, they're taking that home to their house, their apartment, and they're making meals. So they need those kind of things as well. So yeah, for sure, that's part of it to get people educated that we are helping people that have homes to live in. They just need some support. They need a little extra help.
Yeah, right. Do you have events throughout the year that you where you raise money or raise awareness or things like that, get the community involved, maybe raise volunteer opportunities?
I did a couple of, when COVID hit, we had to punt on a couple of our normal kind of events, but I did a couple of parking lot bingos. Have you heard about parking lot bingo?
Yeah.
Not.
It was fantastic. KFGO does this thing called parking lot bingo, and you sit in your car, COVID free, and you get your game cards and you play on Zoom and listen to the announcers. And so I did a couple at the Moorhead Center Mall. It was fantastic. It was just fun to have an event where people could come to and they felt safe. And we raised a couple bucks and had some fun and did a food drive along with it. So that was pretty cool. So we did a our annual event, our biggest fundraiser of the year is called Gourmet Soup Kitchen. And again, pre-COVID, it would be, we get together and you're getting a nice table at a hotel and you're getting some soup and some delicious bread, and the soup is tasty as well, obviously, and some dessert. But we did it online this year, so it was a little different. But we still had some great support, and people supported that event. But it wasn't quite the same, With COVID, it's tough to do events, for sure.
Yeah, yep, for sure. Website or phone number? Do you have a website people can go check out for more information?
Kim, you got it?
I should. churchesunited.org. Yeah.
Churchesunited.org. Churches-united.org. We can put that in the description.
That'll be in the description.
Okay. Yep.
You can find us on Facebook and kind of follow along with what we're doing.
Okay. Is there anything else that that I did? Any questions that you'd like to answer that I didn't ask? I guess basically.
That's a great question. I love that one. That's Pastor Sue's favorite when she does an interview. What did I not ask you that you wanted to answer?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Atonement's been a great partner for us with the food drives and with the presence for Bright Sky Apartments, and so we're very grateful for everything you've done for us.
Yeah, we're happy to help. And
yeah, that was I don't know if you're gonna. Will they be able to see a picture of this?
Yeah,
amazing?
it'll be up on our Facebook, and I'll share it to the podcast page.
There's food that's gonna help so many people, and presents for kiddos at the shelters. That's gonna be great, and kiddos at the Bright Sky Apartments too. So lots of smiling faces will come from your generosity at Atonement. So thank you.
Cool. Well, thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it, and thanks for all you do for the community. It's a wonderful thing, and anytime you can help people out and improve their lives, it just improves the community as a whole. So I really appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Again, Brent and Tim, thank you so much for coming in.
You want to pray us out of here? I feel like I just need to quick plug. We are still doing our 50 days of feeding the world for anybody who's listening. This will be up before the end of the year. So if you have food donations, monetary donations, you can make it to Churches United directly or to Atonement. We will make sure that they get it as well.
Perfect. All right. If you are looking for, I should have said this. I forgot. I'm off my game today.
You don't have
Sarah.
your laptop. That's what
I don't have my laptop. Yeah. If you're looking for a place to worship online this weekend, you can go to atonementfargo.org, atonement.live, or YouTube and search Atonement Fargo. I will pray us out of here. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Lord, thank you for Churches United and the work that they do. God, I pray that you would continue to bless them. And Lord, I pray that you would bless the people who they serve. I pray that they would move on from homelessness, that they would get the help that they need, and I pray for the people who may be a little too proud to ask for the help. Lord, I pray that they would come to a church or come to Churches United and get that help that they desperately need at this time. So God, again, I thank you for Churches United and all the partners that they work with, and I pray that you would continue to bless them. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Again, for Sarah DeYoung, Brent, and Tim, thank you so much. And join us again next week for another riveting episode of that podcast.